Hey everyone, today we're diving into something really fascinating. How the world's biggest powers are structuring their forces for a totally new kind of war. This is a war fought not with bullets, but with bytes, with broadcasts, and most importantly, with what's inside our own heads.
So let's start with the central question, right? How do you command an invisible army? I mean, when the battlefield is literally everywhere and the weapons are completely intangible, how on earth do you organize your people to actually fight and win? It's a huge challenge, and it's forcing a complete teardown of old military ideas.
You know, for the longest time, information was just seen as a support function, something that helped the real soldiers fighting on the ground. Well, that's completely changed. Today, information is the battlefield. It's the territory being fought over, and gaining an edge here can be just as decisive as owning the skies or controlling the seas.
Okay, so to really get this, you got to understand the three layers of this new domain. First, you've got the physical layer. Think servers, fiber optic cables, satellites, all the hardware. Then there's the informational layer. That's the actual data, the ones and zeros flowing through all that hardware. And then, and this is the most important one, you have the cognitive layer. That's us. It's the human mind. Because at the end of the day, soldiers, citizens, politicians, we are the ultimate targets.
So, as countries are trying to figure this all out, two really different philosophies are starting to emerge. On one side, you have the idea of a single, all-powerful, unified command, and on the other, you have a more decentralized approach that relies on a bunch of separate, specialized forces working together. To make this super clear, we're going to use a metaphor for the rest of this explainer. Just think of it like this. Is it better to have a perfectly synchronized orchestra where every single musician follows one conductor? Or is it better to have a dynamic jazz ensemble, where a bunch of brilliant soloists improvise and play off each other? Let's see how this actually works in practice. All right, first up, let's talk about the Western approach. This is our jazz ensemble. It's a model that's really built on spreading power out among highly specialized, pretty independent players. Now, the star soloist in the American Jazz Band is without a doubt U.S. Cyber Command. Back in 2018, it got a huge promotion to a top-level command. Its whole job is to unify cyber warfare and take the fight directly into enemy networks. They call this Defend Forward. But here's the thing. As amazing as this soloist is, it's still just one instrument in the band.
And this brings us to the biggest challenge for the jazz ensemble. Instead of everyone being on the same stage, the other key musicians are kind of stuck in their own separate rooms, divided by these thick organizational walls we call stovepipes.
And you can see that fragmentation so clearly right here. Cyber is handled by one command, but influence operations, that's stuff like psychological warfare, that falls to a completely different group, the Special Operations Command. Then you have electronic warfare, which is split up among all the individual military branches. And space? Yep, that's another command entirely. Trying to get them all to play the same tune at the same time is a huge, huge coordination headache. You have to understand, this separation is not some accident. It's actually baked right into U.S. law. There's this super strict legal firewall between military operations, which fall under what's called Title 10, and intelligence activities, which are under Title 50. Now, this was designed for a really good reason, to protect democratic norms and make sure there's oversight. But in a world where spying and fighting can look exactly the same, it creates some serious problems.
Of course, the U.S. isn't the only one in this band, and some of its closest partners see this exact same problem and are starting to experiment with ways to bring their ensembles a little closer together.
And you can really see this evolution happening. While the US has this powerful but separate cyber command, the UK went and created a national cyber force that purposely mixes military operators and intelligence agents together. Australia took it even a step further. They created an information warfare division that pulls cyber, electronic warfare, and influence operations all under one roof with a single command.
Okay, now let's flip the script completely and look at the other philosophy, China's centralized model. This is the orchestra, a single, enormous instrument designed for pure unity and power, all controlled by one conductor at the top. So back in 2015, China went through this massive military shakeup, and out of it came their answer to the information warfare puzzle, the People's Liberation Army Strategic Support Force, or the SSF. So what's the big deal about the SSF? Well, it's what it combines. It takes almost all the things that are separate in the West, space, cyber, electronic warfare, psychological ops, and fuses them into one single integrated force. This isn't a jazz ensemble. This is the entire orchestra and all its sections in one place. This entire structure is built for one thing, speed and unity. The
The SSF reports directly to the very top of China's military, the Central Military Commission. What this does is give the leadership a single, powerful tool they can use to launch information campaigns really fast, without getting bogged down in bureaucracy.
And this orchestra wasn't just built for the sake of it. It was purpose-built to execute a very specific strategy, a doctrine known as the three warfares.
So what are the three warfares? Well, think of it like this. First, psychological warfare. Its goal is to break an enemy's spirit, their will to even fight. Second, public opinion warfare. This is all about controlling the story, both at home and around the world. And third, you have legal warfare, sometimes called lawfare. This is about using international and domestic law as a weapon to make your own actions look legitimate and to tie your opponent's hands.
So there we have it, our two models, the improvisational jazz ensemble versus the synchronized orchestra. And this brings us right to the heart of the matter, to the ultimate trade-off. It's a fundamental choice between two very different values.
And here it is laid bare. The centralized orchestra model, its strengths are incredible unity and lightning-fast decision-making, though it might not be very flexible. On the flip side, the federated jazz ensemble allows for deep, specialized expertise and, this is critical, maintains legal and democratic oversight. But its potential Achilles heel, a much, much slower response time.
And that dangerous delay, it actually has a name: strategic latency. It's that critical gap between when you spot a threat in the information space and when you're actually able to do something about it. It's the time you waste trying to get all those jazz musicians in all those different rooms to finally agree on what song to play.
And look, this isn't just some theoretical classroom problem. When you're in a high-stakes competition, this strategic latency becomes a key vulnerability. When things can happen online in milliseconds, a decision process that takes days or weeks could mean you've already lost before you've even started to play.
Which really leaves us with this final big question. Information warfare isn't like a traditional battle with a clear beginning and end. It's a constant, never-ending competition. So in a war that has no finish line, which model is actually built to last? The ruthlessly efficient orchestra, or the accountable but maybe slower, adaptable jazz band? That's the challenge that's playing out right now.